Hello, I'm Amanda Lewis. Today I'm going to be teaching you a haircut that I did for the past Elevate in New Orleans, the one that was just a few weeks ago for Serious Business. My model at this show is named Rebecca. So that would be the haircut that we'd be teaching, even though the technique I'm going to walk you through is just a really fun play on textured curly hair. It opens up the conversation of cutting each curl after it's been set through the ends, as we'll talk about. So the look itself is obviously quite edgy, being for a show, so I wanted to do something that was a little bit more fun and outside the box, and I'm taking this moment to walk you guys through the haircut that I did. The red spaces on the head sheet, such as around her hairline, are braids, and then there's one that runs all the way through across the parietal ridge. Those were set in to keep areas out, and then the parietal ridge is an attachment. The nape was completely braided and pinned up away. That way the set didn't get too bulky, and I could also create more of the triangular shape for her set. The braids through the bottom, and then the braid through the parietal ridge, and then the braids around the hairline. They were used as attachment. There was a piece that actually covered this prep set so you couldn't see it as she came on stage. But the braids around the hairline to me are also show how the face framing and any real personalization would come from this area here, so you could really make it unique. And obviously it's a very fun, creative spin on it, but that's also too why you would be able to customize her face framing through the front when it was dry. And like I said, for this edgy show, it was also so I could use it as an attachment. You might be wondering what's in her hair, but it's these little garden stakes or yard stakes that I found at a local hardware store. So they're obviously very small in diameter, and I thought that it would just be really fun to have a set around those, and then they're just secured with the hairpin. I'm gonna take these out as you would approach a haircut, just for systematic and cleanliness. I'm gonna take them out. If you'd had the nape set, you could do that, but I'm gonna start in the back, and then I'm gonna work forward, and then I'm gonna start in the center back and work to the other side. And there's actually another layer above the parietal ridge. I'm gonna take those out afterwards, and then like I said, I'm gonna go through and cut each individual curl. Both my model and mannequin were set with the Aveda Nutriplenish leave-in conditioner and then the Aveda Nutriplenish Curl Gelée. Before you work with curly hair, I really like to encourage using some product on your fingers. So the Aveda smoothing fluid is a great amount of slip that you get, so that you can put it on your fingers and you're able to manipulate the curls without getting very fuzzy. So as I take the pins out, we're gonna work through. So I always like to encourage having a little bit of product on your fingers, so then that way you can keep the nice polish. And the little ends that are poking out when you have that set, you don't have to worry about that, because that's actually what's gonna get cut off. So here we go. The curls have been taken out of their sets. So this haircut is going to be a little bit more freehand and artistic than your extremely technical approach, especially towards curly hair. But as I said earlier, I really wanted to be able to show something unique and also start the conversation of cutting each individual curl where it lays and when it's in its set, which I think is a lot more modern and a different approach for your guests behind the chair. But for the show, like I said, freehand kind of cutting. It depends on your elevation. Everything was cut at a lower elevation, just to keep the weight into Rebecca's hair. And then also, just because I didn't want to be like lifting anything, cutting from the underneath, I'd rather build the weight through the haircut and keep it living through the bottom. The style, like I said, was actually over directed downwards to reduce the volume through the top. So I'm going to be doing everything at a lower elevation and going through each section, cutting the curl where it's going to live. So it's about a 45-degree angle. I'm slightly over directing everything backwards, cutting from the underneath and just opening and closing my scissors as I'm working through. Like I said, the ends that were out were actually what was cut or trimmed. And so I'm not removing as much off of the length as I am on the interior. And it's easy as you go through to see what has already been cut and what has not. I said I'm over directing backwards away from her face through the perimeter to retain her length and the weight. You see, this is above the parietal ridge, so I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. This curl, open, closing, because she's essentially just getting a little bit of a trim in just an unconventional way. Everything that I'm cutting is coming towards my core and my body position. Her head is upright underneath. As I said, just opening and closing the scissors. So working around to the side where the curls actually live. It's just a bit of like slicing and sliding. Talking the shears downwards and back. And you want to repeat on this side, over directing everything back, downwards, low elevation, and away from the face. You might be wondering, how do I make sure that I achieve balance? How do I make sure that it's even? Where is your guide? Those are lots of questions people can have. So the way that you can achieve balance is just by making sure that everything is going to be laying in the same area. So if we want to take the curls and just double check our length and make sure that they're living in about the same area, understanding that she still has all of her length and weight through the bottom that has not been cut. This is just all interior, and the curls, it is going to be a little bit more of a freehand technique. Something that I did at this show is to pull the braids forward. You know, it looks like kind of like a little bit of a chin strap. But, you know, going back to old school days when you're doing your face framing, if you want to take a piece from over here and pieces over here and make them match in the center, you know, and just cut them. That's the way to do it. I like to over direct below the parietal ridge on the heavier side. So you have your curls, everything's been trimmed and cut, and I'm gonna start to break them up. To finish Rebecca's hair off, I want to spritz it with a little bit of the texture tonic, which I love. And you could make this really big if you wanted to, or you could keep it a little bit more casual. I've also tucked the hair back with the braids that were hanging through the front, just as a little bit of fun play, so that people can understand that you don't always need to have an accessory to put into your hair, and that braids can be very playful and they can be very fun, and you can also use them to help hold hair back, almost like a little adornment into the hair. What you can achieve with more of a freehand approach to the curly cutting. Each individual curl was cut at a lower elevation, over directing away from the face, 45 degrees downwards, just to keep the weight, and that way you can cut the curls with whatever you want to remove from the ends. And I think that it looks great. I hope that you had fun and that you learned something from watching my video, and thank you for letting me share this with you.